Pop Cult Pod. This is a broadcast from an undisclosed location in Ireland known as the Pop Cult Compound, where they're crazy for film, television, video games, and much, much more. Speaking now will be the cult leader, Tompott, the host of the only podcast with actual cult.
No, it's not your usual host this week. It's not Tompott. It's Tom, the sound guy, who I think he mentioned me once. He actually always forgot to mention me, even though I was there from the beginning. Oh, well. He mightn't have remembered me, but I will remember him. Okay, I shouldn't speak in such morbid tones. Perhaps he'll put through with, if you don't know what we're talking about, you don't follow the YouTube channel or the social media, our leader, Tompott, was hurt in an explosion at the compound this week, and he's currently in an induced coma. He could come out of it. I don't want to assume someone's fate, but he may pass. He may live. Regardless, I don't think I sound that different to him. I certainly look quite like him to take over the YouTube stuff. So regardless, the show will go on, and I would posit that to anyone listening, that you might not even notice the change. In fact, who cares? Just call me Tompott too. Anyway, the show must go on. Yeah, I'm not going to wait around like the last guy. I just go straight into the news. Let's just get this done and do it properly, like it should be, and often isn't. Okay, beginning first with some breaking news, I guess. This only came out recently, and that is that Taika Waititi is apparently going to come back to direct Thor 4 for Marvel. Taika was set to make Akira over at Warner Bros., but that's now been postponed indefinitely. I feel like I could actually keep a recurring segment of Akira being cancelled and not happening. I'll give an update maybe every week. Well, at least I'll pass that note on to Tompott. Who knows if he'll actually listen. So according to The Hollywood Reporter, who broke this news exclusively, that project, this one being Akira, was penciled for a May 21st, 2021 release and had Waititi testing actors in a worldwide search for talent, and it's being put on pause indefinitely as the two projects' production dates began to bump up against one another. So what does that mean for Thor 4? Well, for one, it seems very possible that it could start filming around the time Akira would have filmed, which would have been the start of next year, I believe. And if it has a similar production time, presumably that means that it will also be out 2021. Now, Marvel does have a slate announcement expected at Comic-Con this weekend, but they do have an open date in November 2021. Good chance that could be Thor 4. There is one in May, but it's probably Guardians, or if not Guardians, well, I don't think it'll be Thor basically. I think that'll be maybe a bit of a rush. And Ragnarok has been in November, I think. They generally stick to similar dates. But there we go. Thor 4 is happening, so we at least know another Marvel movie on the way before the presumed announcement. And sticking with comics, this is something that, well, the normal Tompott wouldn't cover, but I'll cover it. The new Tompott will. Walking Dead, the comic. I suppose it's important to mention it because it's such a massive media franchise, but it is abruptly come to an end, very unexpectedly, at the start of the month with issue 193, which I'm sure if you have kind of OCD tendencies, you're annoyed that it didn't go to 200, but there you go. This came as a shock and a surprise to a lot of people because it was never hinted at really. It was just, hey, just so you know, this last issue is the last one. Hey, The Walking Dead has always kind of made its bones on being surprising and shocking, so it makes sense that it would be for this as well. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything, mainly because I'm not up to date in the comic myself, but it's pretty interesting to discuss because of how big, as I said, a media franchise this is. For one, judging off what I've heard online, it's not going to be possible for the TV series to end like the comic did, which isn't too surprising, considering that at this point it's kind of become a pretty different entity as far as who is alive and where the story is going. I actually thought I read somewhere that the ending to the comic has almost already been done in the show, and it's just kept going, so who knows. AMC, of course, released a statement about this, saying this extraordinary comic created a world that already lives in multiple forms and in the hearts and minds of millions of fans around the world, and will for many years to come. So definitely no end in sight for Walking Dead. Now, that's not too surprising because we have the main Walking Dead series, which is entering its 10th season. We have Fear the Walking Dead, which is currently in its 5th season. Ratings aren't great for it, but I don't know if they can. I don't know. I mean, that's a massive international show, so they might factor that in. They have a third spin-off, a second spin-off, a third series in the works, and of course they have the Rick Grimes, Andrew Lincoln movies. And apparently they're trying to get Maggie back as well, Lauren Cohen. So, yeah. What's that song, The Simpsons? Have no fears, we'll have stories for years. It seems like we get to that point with The Walking Dead, but what do I know? It also sounds to me, and I read this online somewhere, and I kind of was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It sounds at this point like Kirkman's kind of done with the show. He kind of wanted to end, I think. But I guess he doesn't really care because, you know, those checks will clear, right? He's never been a massive creative involvement with the show, but regardless, The Walking Dead comic has ended. Seems like that doesn't mean anything for the vast amount of Walking Dead media in the world today. Let's talk about another TV show that is coming based on a comic, and, well, they're hoping, of course, that will rival The Walking Dead, even though it has significantly less issues, but is much more ambitious and possibly expensive, and that is Sandman, of course, the Neil Gaiman Sandman we're talking about. Netflix has ordered... Now, I've heard differing accounts of this. I heard 10 episodes, like most people maybe just assumed it was 10 episodes. The most up-to-date report and a source that I would trust is saying that it's 11 episodes for the series, which is an odd number. But again, Netflix, 11 episodes, fine, whatever. They're talking about a film version of this for a long, long time. At one point, even Joseph Gordon-Levitt was attached to it. That seemingly went nowhere. But now Netflix and Warner Bros. Television are working together to make this happen. The reasoning behind the collaboration and how massive a deal this is comes down to how expensive the show is likely to be, which makes sense if you've ever read Sandman. A lot of trippy visuals, mythology and the creatures and that kind of thing. We need a high budget to do this right. I think that's also maybe why it made more sense to do as a TV series, because it's odd and you need time to build on the mythology, whereas with a TV series, you can do the time to do that, you know, and the budget can kind of be stretched over the course of a season. When it comes to a movie, that's a lot to put on. You know, it's very, very expensive, a lot to fit into a movie, and also quite a high budget for something that would presumably be R-rated. Regardless, this is apparently the most expensive television production ever by DC Entertainment, which is, you know, saying something. I don't think it's that surprising when you look at the shows they put out, but it is a good sign, if nothing else. Alan Heinberg, who worked on Wonder Woman, ABC's The Catch, and Grey's Anatomy, is set to write and serve as showrunner. It's got a straight-to-series order as well. This isn't just a pilot. Gaiman, who created, of course, the comic, is going to executive produce along with David Goyer. The Hollywood Reporter, sources are telling them that Warner's, which controls the IP, took the Sandman TV pitch to multiple outlets, including corporate sibling HBO, which isn't too surprising that they passed on it. In fact, I think the article goes on to say that they didn't even make a play for the series because of the massive price tag. And they also have a lot of other big world shows in the works. You know, they have Watchmen, for example. They have a Game of Thrones spin-off, prequel. Westworld, all of those are massive big productions. Maybe they just didn't want to put something so massive in there as well. If this is going to be that expensive, you know, maybe they figured we'd leave it to Netflix. And it probably would get a bigger audience in Netflix as well, to be honest. So it'll pay off. We will talk a bit more, actually, just in a sec, about another place this could have gone that is also tied to Warner's, but there we go. Netflix snapped it up as the streamer continues to make active plays for massive IP that could turn into a subscriber for any franchise, Amazon's Lord of the Rings and HBO's Game of Thrones. That's what the article says, which makes perfect sense. Netflix are really buying up a lot of IPs lately, and it makes sense because they're losing more and more as other places start their streaming. You know, of course, Lord of the Rings has gone to Amazon, HBO have Game of Thrones. They're buying up things like Chronicles of Narnia, and they're buying up Roald Dahl rights and all that sort of thing. They want to appeal to everything, because more and more they're not going to be able to rely on other people's independent property and even other studios to make content for them, which is why this is surprising, but I think it makes sense just because of the high cost. Another place it could have gone to, and I understand why it isn't, is mainly, the main reason I'm thinking that it could go there is because of the Warner Bros. Link, because Warner Media officially unveiled their streaming service, HBO Max. Now, we all knew that they were working on a streaming service. We didn't know what it would be about, what the extent of it would be. As soon as AT&T bought Time Warner, there was a massive catalogue there that made perfect sense. So let's first of all, we're going to talk about the content, pricing, that kind of thing. Everything you need to know. First of all, let's talk about the name. I think that's a bad name, HBO Max, because you have one of your content providers in the name, right? So a lot of people that don't know what this is are just going to be like, oh, it's HBO. It's just HBO. It's some service to do with the channel, which isn't great. It kind of reminds me when remember when Nintendo brought out a Wii U, and people just thought it was an attachment to the Wii. Like HBO Max, unless you're in the know, you mightn't be well aware of what that is off the bat. They should have come up with something better. I don't know, like Warner or something. Warner Watch. Watch Warner. I don't know. That was a bad idea off the top of my head, but hey. Yeah. Let's talk about content, because again, that matters more than the name, I suppose, once they get the word out. I'm not saying that every, streaming platform has a great name. DC Universe isn't a great one either. Amazon Prime, yeah, I suppose. Anyway, although I guess Amazon Prime Video, a lot of people that buy Amazon Prime, they get it by now, so it could work. So they mentioned the following content partners: Warner Brothers, of course, New Line, DC Entertainment, CNN, TNT, TBS, True TV, the CW, Turner Classic Movies, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, Crunchyroll, Rooster Teeth, and Looney Tunes, which is a pretty big list. And there's a lot of content there. They put out a trailer with some of the content showing what's going to be on it. Was a little vague, which is something we'll get to in a sec. Obviously, that's going to include all HBO content as well. So you're going to get Game of Thrones, Sopranos, multitude of other shows that HBO made in their library. Original content too, they're saying, as you expect. There might be someone who has every show they already have on DVD or whatever, that you're going to need to draw people in with new content. That new content is, at least from some of the content, is going to come from Greg Berlanti, who is, I think at the moment he holds the record for the most producer on the most TV shows on network TV. He does Riverdale and a lot of the CW stuff, and I think has to do 4 things, like it's 14 dramas or something. I barely looked into it because I just saw the name and went, oh yeah, of course, because he does every show really, to be honest. If throw a rock and you hit a Greg Berlanti show at this point. And Reese Witherspoon, she's Reese Witherspoon. I don't need to say anything beyond that to you. Original series, just to name 2, probably the most notable 2. They're doing a spin-off prequel series to Dune, the 2020 film Dune. I think I'm saying that right. Dune? Okay, you know what it is. Like a sand dune, okay? Including, it's 10 episodes anyway, apparently. And first episode is going to be directed by Denis Villeneuve, who's directing the film, and it's going to be titled Dune: The Sisterhood. The other series, and this is a baffling one in my head, right? Okay, so they're doing a Gremlin series, but it's going to be animated. It's 10 episodes and it's a prequel titled Gremlins Secrets of the Mogwai. Do we really need a prequel to Gremlins? Like, people have been clamoring for more Gremlins for a long time, and they finally get it and it's animated and a prequel. I don't know, like 10 episodes for that? Also, most Mogwai can't talk, right? The Gremlins can talk. Kinda. Mogwai can't talk, so I don't know. I don't know what that's going to be. I feel stupid just saying Mogwai over and over in my head and getting nowhere. I think it's about it. I don't know how that worked, but hey, it might get people's interest at least. I guess that's what they're going for. Movies on the service. They were very cagey with this. They didn't really say much. They weren't like, this is what we have. But it did tease classic content like The Wizard of Oz and more recent films like their DC films and A Star is Born. Of course, they mentioned Turner Classic Movies, which is pretty promising if you're hoping for a good movie catalog, because Turner Classic Movies do have a good one. As far as television, CW shows are going to have their most recent series put up a month before the next season, starting with 2019 seasons. The older seasons are still on Netflix right now. I'm assuming they will join once the deal expires. Although I can't remember I vaguely remember when that deal was signed. It was quite a big deal, but who knows how long into that deal we are. Then you have other content like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that's going to be there, which also I think is on Netflix around the world, which is going to disappear. Along with Pretty Little Liars, one of their biggest boons here, one of their feathers in their cap in the streaming wars, and there's about 2 big shows in streaming, and it's kind of fascinating. Because as much as everyone talks about, oh, this is a big hit on Netflix, this is a big hit wherever, the 2 shows everyone only ever seems to be concerned about on streaming is The Office and Friends. And of course, this one's going to have Friends because it's made by Warner Bros. Television. So it's leaving Netflix, at least domestically, at the beginning of 2020. So there you go. Friends is a pretty big bargaining chip there. Although at this point, right, it's in syndication so much. And if people have seen enough of it at this point, surely no one's going to buy this service for Friends, right? And especially when you hear the price, actually. Okay, we don't have a vague date for when this is going to launch. Spring 2020 is all we've been told. As far as the price goes, there was no confirmed price. Seems like it's going to be pretty expensive. It's going to cost slightly more than HBO Now, which is what they have said. HBO Now at the moment is $14.99. The Wall Street Journal reported it was going to be around $16 or $17 a month. Pretty significant price increase when you compare it to other streaming services. Just for an example, okay? It would make it $5 higher than Netflix in America, and that's at the middle tier. Hulu and Amazon Prime are cheaper than Netflix, so more expensive than them by quite a lot. More noteworthy, of course, the unlaunched giant that is the Disney streaming service, Disney Plus, which I'm sure is going to be amazing. It's more than double the price of Disney. Oh, wouldn't you go? You should go for Disney. Always go for Disney when in doubt, right? It seems there won't be tiers to this service either, like Netflix. And speaking of which, the streaming services, DC Universe, one we keep mentioning, at least one of those shows, Doom Patrol, was shown in the trailer. However, it's been said that nothing will change. It seems like the DC Universe will still be separate, but whether or not they will do a kind of thing where you could, if you just want the DC service, you can pay this amount. And if you want all the rest, you can pay all this, and you'll get Doom Patrol and Titans and whatever, which makes the Swamp Thing, cancellation so abrupt, kind of odd. But regardless, it's also not going to impact their other, streaming platforms like HBO Now, HBO Go, or CW Seed. We also don't know if it's coming internationally yet. There's no, presumably it will. There's nothing announced. And again, licensing deals around the world are different everywhere. Yeah, I don't know if it's worth it. Again, it's early days. They do have a lot of great content. The HBO catalog especially, but it's a pretty expensive service compared to the competition. So we really just have to question, is it worth what you're getting? And at least in my head, I don't know if it is. But anyway, I suppose we will know a bit better. As time goes on, we hear a few more details on HBO Max. Well, speaking of price drops and things you probably don't need, Nintendo announced I guess you could call it a new console? I don't know. They announced the Switch Lite. Now, we've been expecting this for a long time. It's been rumored for a long time. We weren't exactly sure what form it would take, but we got a lot of confirmation, and it's out sooner than you think as well. So, first off, it's basically an alternative to their Switch, but it's got some pretty big changes, making it. I won't say it makes it its own thing, but we'll just get into it. It's an odd one. Okay, the big selling point on this is, of course, the price is about $100 cheaper than the standard Switch, and of course the portability. Which, I mean, the Switch sells itself in its portability anyway. This one, it's seen as being even more portable, so much so that you cannot connect it to your TV, which probably a problem, right? At least to me. Like I was interested in the Switch Lite. I was like, if it's a decent price, I can get all the Switch games, great. But if you can't connect it to your TV, we're not all living the life like those Nintendo ads where it's like, hey, it's a party, everybody, look what I brought, woo! And all of a sudden, it's like, like there's people in those ads like, hey, I'm at an airport, Switch. I'm at a rooftop, Switch. They're always just playing the Switch. I just want to play some good games. I'm happy to do that on TV. Another big change is that the Joy-Con controllers, which are, of course, detachable on the regular Switch, are built into the console. You can't remove them here. And in other words, if you wanted to play multiplayer, that would mean buying another Joy-Con. Now, there has been a lot of reported issues with these Joy-Cons. First of all, they're very expensive. And they're said to be very flimsy by a lot of people. It's very cheaply made from the sound of it. Now, I don't know if that's going to be an issue with the built-in model. A lot of people recently are complaining about Joy-Con drift, where after a while, you're kind of almost just like drifting phantomly, regardless of where the Joy-Con thing, because it just wears down. I don't know. What do you do if your Switch Lite does that? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they're reinforcing it, but you would hope so, because otherwise it would be a real bummer if their Joy-Con just kind of busted and I was like, well, that's the whole end of the console, isn't it? It has a better D-pad though, so hopefully that'll mean a better Joy-Con, if nothing else. It's lighter as well than the original, as you would expect, because you're going to be carrying it around a lot more, because you can only carry it around potentially. The battery life is also said to be better. It hasn't been clarified exactly how much better, but it's said to be somewhere between 20 and 30%. Resolution of the screen is the same. It's a little bit smaller as far as the screen goes, though. It's 5.5 inches compared to the regular 6.2. The HD rumble and the IR sensors are gone, but it means that some games will require additional Joy-Cons to play, so I mean, I guess that makes sense. You don't really want to rumble on a portable console because you might just rumble then drop it. And again, additional Joy-Cons for that. So when it's all said and done, I mean, additional Joy-Con is like, what, $80? So 280, you're looking already at basically the price of a Switch if you want to play certain games. There's other games that won't be usable at all with the Lite. I've seen a few pointed out. I won't name them just because I would be worried that I could be inaccurate, but there are some games where those features are just essential. So whether or not you'll be able to play them is up for debate. The game packages also clearly state what games are portable, so at least you won't get screwed over. And if you buy one at the eShop, it'll also warn you before you do it. Colorwise, they get weird choices, Nintendo, with your colors. So you can get it in turquoise, yellow, or grey. I guess they just picked the 3 ugliest colors they could find. Red, blue, and black. There you go. Throw in a white. Ridiculous, but you can also get a Pokemon Sword and Shield version when that game comes out in November. And aside from that, the Switch Lite is out on September 20th. So really out quite soon. What does this mean? Well, it doesn't mean much as far as the Switch goes. Really, I don't think you're going to see much. There aren't people that are going to go, oh, I'll definitely get a Switch Lite now. It's not really an upgrade, as it were. It's kind of like a lateral move, It's getting more people to play the Switch as opposed to an improvement of the Switch. Now, what I would say it's a bigger impact, the bigger impact of this, I should say, reworded a bit better, is the impact it's going to have on their portable consoles. This would really seem to indicate the end of the DS games and their consoles, right? At the moment, I think they're on, 2DS? I think the last model of that came out 2 years ago, maybe. And Nintendo, initially when Switch came out, people were concerned with that. They said, hey, was this the end of the DS? And they were like, no, not at all. This looks like it. It would also mean that you don't necessarily have to make 2 libraries of games, DS games and Switch games. You can just make Switch games that work with both. Yeah, I think this could be the end of the DS. We'll see, though. Switch Lite, September 20th, if you want to pick one up. Not the big upgrade some were hoping for. Some people are quite disappointed by this. I'd be delighted with this if it was just you connect to the TV. Then that's all you need, really. But that kind of takes away from it for me. If you want to talk about disappointment, though, whoo, boy, settle up. Because you've not known disappointment until you've been a person disappointed in the casting of The Little Mermaid. You remember Little Mermaid? That red-headed white mermaid that swims under the ocean, Ariel. And then she gets legs and loses her voice. But she likes forks and you can use them as a hairbrush. So isn't that really a happy ending? She found a fork and found multiple uses for it. I might have missed the moral of that story. Okay, The Little Mermaid, they're of course making a live action remake like Disney do with a lot of these. They're all fantastic, of course. And this one is causing some controversy. I think if you haven't even heard the story, you've been living under a rock like SpongeBob or some other sea creature. But, wait, SpongeBob doesn't live in a rock. He lives in a pineapple under the sea. What am I saying? Patrick lives under a rock. Yeah. I'm not editing this, fuck that. Okay. Look, there's no way to get around this, really. The Little Mermaid live action remake, they've cast an actor, notably not Halle Berry. Haley Bailey. No, that must be Halle Bailey, right? No, who would be so cool to call him Haley Bailey? Halle Bailey. Okay. Let's go through the positives of Halle Bailey as a Little Mermaid, and then let's come to the one exclamation point that people are freaking out about. Number 1, stunning girl. You want your mermaid to be pretty? Perfect. Number 2, I assume she can swim. The Little Mermaid. Well, actually, do you know what? It probably won't require swimming. They probably just use green screen and they'll act like they're holding their breath in the water. Although she shouldn't have to even do. Oh yeah, you know what? There's probably no swimming in the Little Mermaid. But that's point number 2. Point 3, she can sing. She's a musician. She's in, I think, some group with her sister called Chloe. Some R&B duo, so she has musical talent. She can sing. There's videos online of her singing. Number 4, the thing that people are freaking the fuck out about. She's not white. She's black. Oh God, no. It was going so well. Just to be clear, I'm taking the piss. We are in a world where people have nothing better to do than freak out that a fictional mermaid is being portrayed by a black actress. It trended on Twitter multiple times. Not My Mermaid was one of them, I think. Like, is that the worst thing going on in the world right now? Is that your biggest concern? First of all, it's great casting. Okay? She has everything you would want in that character. Okay? And they need someone with a strong musical background, because I would imagine, considering it's being directed by Rob Marshall, who was known for musicals like Chicago, and is it 9? Yeah, 9, the one that no one remembers. I would assume that this is going to have quite a musical one, so they hired a singer. Why are people complaining about, like, a mermaid? Just to be clear, who cares? Like, it was a cartoon. Ariel was only white because that was the color they colored her in as. You know? Who cares? There's no such thing as real mermaids. If they want to be really accurate, they cast a real mermaid. But they can't do that. Freak out over that. That's how ridiculous you're being. Oh, she was white in the cartoon. All right. That's fine. This isn't the cartoon. Oh, you know what? Here's another excuse I see with all these racial castings. When people say, like, well, why did they have to take white characters and put black actors in? Make your own characters. Okay, you know what? It's a different mermaid who also has to be called Ariel. There you go. It's a new Ariel. This one's portrayed by a black actress. Problem solved. Crisis averted. Ludicrous. I can't believe how much people are freaking out over this. But I'm not going to lie, I'm enjoying it. It's kind of funny because of how stupid people are being. I don't get it. I don't understand people that are so threatened by having a black actress take on the role from a cartoon mermaid. Like, when you say it out loud, doesn't it sound stupid? Anyway, this is... I'm not as familiar with her acting. I'm not sure how much acting she has done. But I imagine, again, it won't be that hard. I don't think the performances are great in a lot of these Disney movies anyway. Oh, well, I'll have to edit that out. No, they're all... she's perfect. I'm sure she will do a great job. Now, we also got, other casting. I think rumored casting. I don't know if this was ever confirmed that Melissa McCarthy is going to play Ursula. That's also great casting. I say that as someone who doesn't like Melissa McCarthy, but I think she has a kind of a darkness to some of her roles, and she can bring a real kind of sinister nature. I think she'll be a good Ursula. No controversy there, of course. Even though why didn't they give the role to a purple actress? Huh? Ursula's purple. The other casting, I mean, if Twitter freaked out in one direction, they probably freaked out the other direction for this one. Harry Styles is apparently going to be Prince Eric. Prince Eric, who might be the most bland of any of the Prince characters, from what I can remember. Oh, also, if people want to get freaked out as well, I only saw this earlier. Apparently, they're gender swapping the seagull. Like a male seagull. Now it's going to be played by Aquafina, is her name? So, yeah. Can't wait to see people freak out over that. Not my mermaid. Oh yeah, Ariel from the Little Mermaid is your mermaid. She's yours. You're really waving the flag for the Little Mermaid. You 40-year-old man with a beard. What are you doing? I might be being harsh, but I just find it really funny. Hey, want a double dose of racism? Yeah, let's do it. Here comes shot number 2. 007. Not just a double shot of racism. Racism? That sounded like raisins. Double shot of racism. Because the second one is a 007 talk. The Daily Mail, which we normally, they wouldn't be the most reputable source. They're kind of a tabloid, but they have been right about certain things in the past. And as far as Bond goes, I think they're more likely to be right than not. They have said, and again, this is the importance of reading the story, kids. Don't just look at the headline. Don't just form a narrative in your head based on what it says. Because that's what they want you to do. They want to get you angry or happy or mislead you. Read the fucking story. Because every headline I saw was, oh, Lashana Lynch is going to be 007. Lashana Lynch is going to be James Bond. You see, if you were to read either of those headlines, one of them is right, the other one isn't. Second of all, if you were to only read the headline of the right one being Lashana Lynch is going to take on the role of 007, you could probably extrapolate that she's going to be the new Bond, which isn't accurate at all. The story goes like this, okay? Lashana Lynch, who was in Captain Marvel, you might remember from that, at the start of this movie, and we've known this for a while, that it's going to start with Bond in Jamaica kind of retired from MI6. Now, those numbers, 007, that's his agent number. As he retires, his number of 007 is passed on to another agent. So apparently a pivotal scene at the beginning of the movie is that M says, bring in 007. And in walks Lashana Lynch as our 007. She's not the new Bond. She's 007 because there is no 007 James Bond anymore because James Bond is retired. Then James Bond comes back. Okay? Stop freaking out. Now, that's the rational part of my brain. The conspiracy theory part of my head is that this was deliberately leaked to gauge public reaction. I think. Now, again, tinfoil hat firmly on my head. The question of is she going to be the new Bond? We don't have any evidence to suggest that now. Are they going to recast Bond? Yes. I don't think it makes any sense if they made her the new, the new lead of the franchise, as it were. I mean, for one, well, you couldn't call it James Bond anyway. They could always spin it off into making her a female agent if they wanted. We do know that they are going to have to recast James Bond or get a new character to carry on the franchise because this is going to be Daniel Craig's last one. If they didn't realise that before, they're going to have to get rid of him now. He broke his ankle or whatever. They must just be like, right, this guy is an old man now. We need someone new. But he seems to be sick of the role. This was always kind of earmarked as the end of the series for now, until they recast a new Bond. Do I think he's going to pass torch as James Bond? Possibly. But again, even if they did that, that character isn't James Bond, that character is 007. It's a new agent. You don't have to freak out. Because even if, first of all, some of the James Bond movies just suck. Okay? Including the most recent one. Spectre was awful. Alright? If they can do something new here, interesting, great. And if they try it and it fails, hey, at least you tried something. They can always go back and bring back another James Bond, okay? Relax. The thing is, I don't know if the James Bond character works as a female. Only because, Bond's kind of going around drinking and hitting on women and stuff. And with a female character, it would be a different dynamic. It would be interesting. But I don't think that they have the balls to make Bond a woman. I do think that they will just spin it off, maybe, at most. which is also, that would be fine as well. Who cares? Right? Relax. So there is no, there is no black female Bond. At the moment, Lashana Lynch is going to take on the role of 007, but that's only because James Bond is no longer 007 because of the story that he's retired. Just settle down, okay? That story is what it is. And again, it's a rumor, probably accurate. I do think that this was probably out there to test the waters, but we shall see. And I'm sure this controversy is going to pop up again and again and again until we see the movie, and then the movie is fine, and then we forget about it 2 months later. Okay? Can we just not pick on the Little Mermaid again? Remember a simpler time where we bullied a young woman for taking on the role of a lifetime? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. People are crazy, man. That's what this boils down to. Just settle down, okay? It's just watch the movie, judge the movie. If the movie sucks, hey, it sucks. If it's not good, fine. They'd probably make another one to make you happier, okay? Like all that Ghostbusters crap that we had before, right? And now Ghostbusters sucked. It didn't suck because it was women. It sucked because it wasn't funny. It didn't suck because women aren't funny. A lot of the women in that movie have made me laugh in other films. That movie just was not very good. Okay? And if you've learned one thing from that, guess what? Ghostbusters came out, it sucked, it flopped, and sure enough, next year we're getting another Ghostbusters movie, closer to what people want. So, guess what? If a movie is good, if people like it, it will succeed. If it sucks, and it's a bad idea, it won't. Okay? Now, obviously good movies have failed, bad movies have succeeded. But my point is this. If this bothers you so much, stop getting angry. It doesn't matter. Just don't support it if you feel that strongly. Alright? And that goes for the other side too. Don't bully people into being like, oh, you should like this. Like the whole Ghostbusters thing was like, oh, you're a misogynist. And Sony backed that as well. They're like, oh, these Ghostbusters fans are misogynists. Yeah, the Ghostbusters fans are probably the people that would have seen the movie. So don't go after your fan base. Okay? Just let people have their opinions, even if they're wrong. Or at least your definition are wrong. And move on. If you want to support the movie, go see it. If you don't want to support the movie, don't see it. Okay? Jesus Christ. It's like talking to toddlers with some of this stuff, isn't it? Anyway, let's move on to our last news item, talking about the Emmys. Fun fact, I just recorded half of my discussion about the Emmys and realised I wasn't recording. So that's about, if I sound a bit less enthusiastic than I did, well, now you know why. Okay. Getting back to the Emmys then, for the second time for me. The Emmy nominations were announced yesterday, as of this recording. Just a few things up top. Game of Thrones broke the record for the most Emmy nominations in a single season. That's a long-standing record. The last show to hold it was NYPD Blue, just to give you an idea. It got 32 nominations. Now, let's talk about that. A lot of controversy about that. And I mean controversy with the last season of Game of Thrones in general, I guess. But it's worth noting the reasoning behind all those nominations. It's not necessarily on merit. You have to remember this is one of the most critically commercially successful shows ever. And they would do this with a lot of shows they have done in the past. They give awards for like, it's not like, oh, you were great this season. It's, oh, you were great in this role the last 10 years. You deserve a nomination, if not an award. So I'm not trying to take away nominations from them, but just keep that in mind, because you're going to, if you watched the recent season of Game of Thrones, and assuming you had the reaction a lot of people have, which was kind of like, oh, that wasn't up to par. That might explain it, because there are actors here I don't think should be nominated, not because they don't give good performances, but because they just didn't get enough to do in the season, maybe. But they got nominated anyway. And that's just what that is, recognizing a show for how long it's been around and how well it's done throughout the course of the years. Overall, HBO actually led the nominations this year. Last year, I believe they were beaten by Netflix, but this year they won with 137 total nominations, which is massive. Of course, a lot of those went to Game of Thrones, but Barry was also quite a big hit, along with Chernobyl. So let's have a look in more detail. I flashbashed it when I did this like 5 minutes ago. Oh well. Comedy series. Okay. There is 7 shows nominated in comedy this year. And they come from actually a quite diverse list of sources, which is nice. Barry on HBO, Fleabag on Amazon, The Good Place on NBC, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Amazon, Russian Doll on Netflix, Schitt's Creek on Pop, and Veep on HBO. Now, first off, I think NBC are the only network to have any presence in the major awards, as in comedy, drama, limited series, etc. So good on them. NBC are clearly putting out great content right now. As for the other ones, Barry on HBO, fantastic show. I'm halfway through season 2. It's a really, really great show. Deserves to be there. Fleabag, I haven't watched this yet, but actually after these nominations came out, I was like, oh my god, this show's only 12 episodes, so I'm planning on checking that out. Heard great things, of course. The Good Place on NBC, fantastic show as well. I don't think this season was the strongest season, but of course, sometimes the show just gets, like even though they're nominating the show that season, sometimes it's the strength of the show overall, which is something we'll see in a minute. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, massive hit on Amazon. Never seen it myself, but it's always an awards darling. Russian Doll on Netflix. I was a little bit disappointed with Russian Doll. Maybe it was just because everyone loved it and it was bigged up, and it was good. It just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. Thought overall it was kind of disappointing. I didn't find it funny, to be honest, but it's something different, and that's, they could have put something like The Big Bang Theory in here, which no disrespect to The Big Bang Theory, I don't mind it, but at least it's something a bit different, and it's going to encourage, hopefully, more distinct comedies in the years to come. Schitt's Creek, this is kind of the underdog at the Emmys this year. The scrappy underdog, I should say, because nobody thought it was going to get many nominations. It never has. I think it's like in its 5th or 6th season now. And it's on a nothing network in America. It's on Pop, which I don't know what Pop TV have. They used to have wrestling. I don't know what they have now. This is a show that apparently has been really boosted by Netflix. Their seasons are up on Netflix more or less worldwide. I think it's on, certainly in Ireland here. And it's apparently a very good show. Eugene Levy makes it with his son, and I have never watched it. I've heard it's funny. But it really kind of came out of nowhere. So fair play and congratulations to the Schitt's Creek crowd, because they have quite a presence here, more than they ever have. Veep on HBO, I'm 2 seasons behind on Veep, but this last season was apparently one of its best seasons. And of course, Julie Louis-Dreyfus has battled cancer and defeated it, thankfully. So there's, of course, kind of a feel-good story there as well. As for what I think is going to win this, I don't know. I could see it going to Veep just because of the points I mentioned a minute ago. Again, it's also his last season. Fleabag, it won't have another year, but it's a short show. It's only had 2 seasons, so it's not that big a deal. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel will have another year. Schitt's Creek, I think, has 1 more year, but that'll never win it anyway, to be honest. Russian Doll probably have another year. Good Place would also have another year, but again, I don't think it'll win it. I'd like to see Barry win it. Barry is fantastic, but I think it'll probably go to Veep. Either way, I think HBO will be going home happy there. The drama series. Drama's massive category this year. We have 8 nominations. Better Call Saul on AMC, Bodyguard on Netflix, Game of Thrones on HBO, Killing Eve on BBC America, Ozark on Netflix, Pose on FX, Succession on HBO, and This Is Us on NBC. Okay, I haven't seen the most recent season of Better Call Saul. I've heard it's fantastic. Seems to be a very deserving nomination. Vince Gilligan and the crew there always put out good content, so not surprising they got nominated. Bodyguard, this was sort of a big hit when it came out. I'd kind of forgotten about it, to be honest. I assume I never really kind of thought it was of a quality. I thought it was a bit pulpy, but apparently not, because it got nominated for best drama series. I think it's BBC normally, but it's Netflix in America, so it's credited as Netflix here. Game of Thrones, of course, got nominated last season. Not the best season, quite obviously, but the strength of the show in general put it there. Killing Eve on BBC America. I heard some people complaining about the second season, but it's still here. Still quite good from all accounts. Ozark, another show apparently said to have peaked in the first season, but a lot of people love it. Pose and FX, something I've never really seen. I don't even know much about it. Succession, I vaguely remember this one. Thought it was quite dry from memory, but I've never watched it fully. This Is Us, massive hit as well. The only drama also from, well, I suppose, yeah, only drama from network. BBC America, I guess, would be basic cable, but there you go. As for what I think will win, I think Game of Thrones, just because it's the last season. I think it's more likely to win, to be honest. Then we have limited series, which is really a growing category in recent years. And we have Chernobyl from HBO, Escape at Dannemora from Showtime, Verdun from FX, Sharp Objects from HBO, and When They See Us on Netflix. I think this will probably go to Chernobyl. That's been a massive hit. Everyone's talking about it. I haven't watched it myself. I have it ready to go. I just haven't had time to sit down and watch it yet. Yeah, I think this is going to be Chernobyl's year, quite honestly. But we'll see. As for who else going to walk away with it, maybe Sharp Objects. I don't think the other ones have a chance. Maybe When They See Us, but I think it's more likely to be Chernobyl, to be honest. Television movie. HBO ruled the roost here as well. We have Black Mirror Bandersnatch on Netflix, Brexit, The Uncivil War, HBO, Deadwood, the movie, HBO, My Dinner with Hervé, HBO, and then King Lear on Amazon. It's kind of strange Black Mirror is nominated, right? Because people have, this is interactive, so everyone has a kind of different experience. So it's harder to judge. I didn't think it was very good, to be honest, but people love Black Mirror, and I guess it's something different, so that's good. I wonder if interactive content grew so much that they needed some category, but anyway, Black Mirror got nominated. I haven't seen any of the other ones. I would like to see Deadwood, the movie, get it, just because I think it got locked out in nearly every other category. And it'd be nice for it to get an award on its way out the door, you know. That was such a great show when it was on initially. Bring us the lead actor in a limited series or a TV movie. Mahershala Ali for True Detective, Benicio del Toro for Escape at Dannemora, Hugh Grant for A Very English Scandal, Jared Harris for Chernobyl, Jarrell Jerome for When They See Us, and Sam Rockwell from Verdun. Well, Mahershala Ali, I think he has a good chance of winning it. Then again, True Detective really lost its appeal. It wasn't really talked about. People really didn't even discuss it that much. I think it's out of most categories here. I think that might be the only one it's nominated for. But I could see it because he is a fantastic actor. They always like kind of giving it to a big time actor. Not that there's any small actors in this category, really. Jared Harris is another one I could possibly see it going to. I think Mahershala Ali will walk away with, though, to be honest. And because his performance is said to be fantastic. I haven't seen it myself. Season 2 True Detective, I think I was like, all right, I'm kind of done, which I think was a lot of people's attitude, to be honest. Even though season 3 was apparently a bit of a bounce back. Lead actress in a limited series or a TV movie: Amy Adams in Sharp Objects, Patricia Arquette in Escape at Dannemora, Joey King in The Act, Niecy Nash, When They See Us, Michelle Williams in Verdun, and Aunjanue Ellis, When They See Us. Okay. I think it's going to be Amy Adams. She's the biggest name there. I know that shouldn't matter, but it often does, because the people voting are just like, oh, I know Amy Adams. She's great. And she is great. Now, another thing I didn't mention, actually, is that the people who vote for the Emmys, I think the largest contingent are people from HBO. So, yeah, could be Amy Adams. To be honest, I think Amy Adams is probably going to win that one. It's the biggest name. Sharp Objects was probably a bigger hit than any of those other shows. And you should also note, like, as I said, some of these bigger shows on bigger networks, they have more budget to go after these awards for their campaigns. So I think Amy Adams will probably walk away with that one. Lead actor in a comedy series: Anthony Anderson in Blackish, Don Cheadle in Black Monday, Ted Danson in The Good Place, Michael Douglas in The Kaminsky Method, Bill Hader in Barry, and Eugene Levy in Schitt's Creek. Eugene Levy's in Schitt's Creek. No. Tough one. Tough category this year. Michael Douglas is one you want to say, because he's the kind of prestige actor. I think Bill Hader, at the same time, though, is fantastic, and I could see him getting that. Or maybe Don Cheadle. If only because it's like, hey, Don Cheadle, he came to television, good man. I'm hoping Bill Hader, personally, but I could see it going to Michael Douglas, probably. Lead actress in a comedy series: Christina Applegate in Dead to Me, Rachel Brosnahan in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Julia Louis-Dreyfus in Veep, Natasha Lyonne in Russian Doll, Catherine O'Hara in Schitt's Creek, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge in Fleabag. Another competitive category. I don't think Christina Applegate can get it. Rachel Brosnahan, apparently fantastic. I don't think she'll get it either. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I think, is probably the front runner, mainly because she's fantastic in Veep. She beat cancer, so it's kind of a feel-good story. And she's kind of an institution on television. Obviously Seinfeld and what was it, New Adventures of Old Christine or whatever it was. I think she should win this. I think it's likely she will. Natasha Lyonne for Russian Doll. Pretty good performance. Again, I don't think she's going to win it though. Catherine O'Hara, probably not. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, maybe. Could possibly see that one right. Lead actor in a drama series. A very competitive category, as it normally is. A bit less competitive than other years. I think drama's opened up a bit more, and probably open up even more when Game of Thrones has gone next year, to be honest. At least certainly in the supporting categories, which, as we'll see. Jason Bateman in Ozark, Sterling K. Brown in This Is Us, Kit Harington in Game of Thrones, Bob Odenkirk in Better Call Saul, Billy Porter in Pose, and Milo Ventimiglia in This Is Us. Jason Bateman, probably not going to get it. I've heard he's quite good in that show, but I don't think he's going to get it. Sterling K. Brown, again, probably the same. Kit Harington, he doesn't deserve nomination this year, does he? Good actor. Does great as Jon Snow. Didn't have much to do, though. Just kind of stood around moping all season, being like, she's my queen. I won't stand against my queen. Again, though, last season, they want to be like, hey, you did a great job these last few years. Kit, here's a bloody Emmy. Yeah, I think a lot of these shows are going to have another chance to win it, so I think they'll probably go to Kit Harington. Bob Odenkirk is great in that show. I can't really comment on Billy Porter. Might have been to be. They haven't seen their shows. I think it's probably going to be Kit Harington, rightfully so or not. Lead actress in a drama series, Emilia Clarke in Game of Thrones, Jodie Comer in Killing Eve, Viola Davis in How to Get Away with Murder, Laura Linney in Ozark, Mandy Moore in This Is Us, Sandra Oh in Killing Eve, and Robin Wright in House of Cards. I've heard Robin Wright wasn't great in House of Cards, but again, it's an issue where final season, named actress, way to go. I think it's probably between Sandra Oh for Killing Eve and Emilia Clarke. Leaning towards Emilia Clarke because it's the last season, of course. They want people to win an award as they go out, on their way out the door. Never before will that be more obvious that they're giving awards to people because the show is ending than when we look at a supporting actor in a drama series and supporting actress as well, actually. Oh, man. There is 7 nominations here. 3 of them are Game of Thrones. Alfie Allen in Game of Thrones, Jonathan Banks in Better Call Saul, Nicholas Coster-Waldau in Game of Thrones, Peter Dinklage in Game of Thrones, Giancarlo Esposito in Better Call Saul, Michael Kelly in House of Cards, and Chris Sullivan, This Is Us. Right. Let's talk. I can't talk. Michael Kelly is good in House of Cards. I didn't see this season. He's not going to win it anyway. Chris Sullivan, This Is Us. I haven't seen the show. I don't know who that is. So I won't talk about his performance either. 2 Better Call Saul guys, and I said Breaking Bad guys. Jonathan Banks and Giancarlo Esposito, they're fantastic in their performances in Better Call Saul and, of course, in Breaking Bad. They may have actually won before for Breaking Bad. I'm not entirely sure. But again, there will be another season of Better Call Saul, at least one more. It's probably going to go to one of the Game of Thrones guys. Alfie Allen is the big surprise there because he's great in that role. He did nothing this season. He was barely in this season. But he got nominated regardless. So there you go. I mean, that character had a great arc, so maybe that also leaned into it. But I think it's very much between Nicholas Coster-Waldau, who was great this season, probably had a lot more to do than a lot of characters, and Peter Dinklage, who, again, some of the writing didn't favour him, but he's always been perfect as a character. I think it's between those 2 actors. Maybe it'll go to the Dink. Supporting actress in a drama series. Man, if you thought the last category was bad. 6 nominations. 4 of them are Game of Thrones. So we have Gwendolyn Christie as Game of Thrones, Julia Garner in Ozark, Lena Headey in Game of Thrones, Fiona Shaw in Killing Eve, Sophie Turner in Game of Thrones, and Macy Williams in Game of Thrones. Okay, no point talking about any of the Game of Thrones or non-Game of Thrones nominations because they're not going to get it. Or at least I don't know if their performance is well enough to judge that, but I don't think there's any chance. Just playing the percentages is going to be Game of Thrones. Gwendolyn Christie, yeah, she's fantastic in that role. She was great this season. I don't think they'd be inclined to give it to her though. I don't know. That's just a gut feeling. Lena Headey, she was boring this season. She just looked grouchy, looking out the window, drinking wine. What a way to get paid, right? But again, she is fantastic in that role. She inhabits that role that she has for the whole run of the show. So I think that's somewhat why they factor that in. I could see her maybe walking away with it possibly, but I think it's more likely to be Macy Williams. She was pretty good this year and this run in general. Sophie Turner was fine, but kind of boring this year. She didn't have much to do either. I think it'll probably be between Lena and Macy, but it'll be a Game of Thrones actress regardless anyway. All right. We come to the category I got to last time before I realised it wasn't recording. The supporting actor in a comedy series. All right, so we have Alan Arkin for The Kaminsky Method, Anthony Carrigan for Barry, Tony Hale for Veep, Stephen Root for Barry, Tony Shalhoub for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Henry Winkler as Barry. Okay. A lot of nominations for Barry there, because Barry has a great supporting cast. It's tough though. Tony Shalhoub, I don't think he's going to get it. Alan Arkin, maybe because of legacy, he's been around forever. Tony Hale is fantastic in Veep, and it is his last season. Which is the one thing that makes me go like, maybe he'll get it. On the other hand, out of the Barry actors, Henry Winkler is a bit more dramatic. Stephen Root is a bit more dramatic, and they're both fantastic. I love both those actors in nearly everything they've done. But if there is a scene stealer in Barry, it's probably Anthony Carrigan. So I think it'll probably be between him and Tony Hale, unless they just decide to go with legacy and give it to Alan Arkin. But it's hard to call that one. Supporting actress in a comedy series: Alex Borstein, Anna Klumsky, Olivia Colman, Cyan Clifford, Betty Gilpin, Sarah Goldberg, Maren Hinkle, and Kate McKinnon. I didn't name any of those shows. Okay, Alex Borstein for Mrs. Maisel, Anna Klumsky for Veep, Olivia Colman and Cyan is Fleabag, Betty Gilpin is Glow, Sarah Goldberg is Barry, Maren Hinkle is Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Kate McKinnon is Saturday Night Live. Tough category. Very, very tough category this year. Eight actresses? Wow. Alex Borstein, she's good, but I've never seen Mrs. Maisel, so I can't really comment on that. Anna Klumsky, she's fantastic in Veep, and it is ending, but I don't think it'll be hers. I don't think it'll go to Cyan Clifford. If it's going to Fleabag, it'll probably go to Olivia Colman. She's kind of one of the big actresses when it comes to awards season now, so I could see her getting it. Betty Gilpin was great in the first season of Glow. I haven't seen the second season. I don't think she'll get it anyway. Sarah Goldberg is Barry. I don't know, is she great in that role personally? But I don't know, is it her or the character? And regardless, I don't think she's going to win it. I think it's just they wanted to give Barry some awards. Maren Hinkle, don't know anything about that performance. Kate McKinnon is fantastic on Saturday Night. She's one of the few funny people still on that show, in my opinion. I think it'll go to Olivia Colman. Having not seen Fleabag, this is just a guess. Maybe Kate McKinnon, though. Then we come to writing awards. Writing for comedy series. Barry, Ronnie Lilly, written by Bill Hader and Alec Berg. Fleabag, episode 1 by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Pen 15, Anna Ishii Peters by Maya Erskine and Anna Conkle. Russian Doll, Nothing in the World is Easy. Jesus Christ. Teleplay by and story by Leslie Headland. Story by Natasha Lyonne and Amy Poehler. Right. That was a long credit. Russian Doll, Warm Body, Alison Silverman. The Good Place, Janet, Josh Siegel and Dylan Morgan. Veep by David Mandel. Okay. I know who I want to win, but there is some good ones here. I want Ronnie and Lily to win because that's like the last episode I watched of Barry, and it was so good that I didn't even want to continue. I was like, it can never hit that bar again. That was one of the best episodes of television I watched in a long time. It was fantastic. I'd love that to win, but I don't want the Russian Doll episodes to win because I thought those episodes were okay, but not entirely funny. And I guess this is comedy series, so. Veep, I'm guessing the last episode is called Veep, but I haven't seen the last season. And Dave Mandel's a good writer though, and Veep is a great show. Janet's was a fantastic episode of The Good Place, so I wouldn't be disappointed with that. And I hope it goes to Barry though, personally. But I could see maybe Fleabag or possibly Veep. I don't know, tough category. Directing for comedy series: Barry, The Audition. Barry, Ron and Lily. Audition was directed by Alec Berg. Ron and Lily was directed by Bill Hader. Fleabag, episode 1 by Harry Bradbeer. The Big Bang Theory: Stockholm Syndrome by Mark Sandrowski. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, All Alone, Amy Sherman Palladino. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, We're Going to the Catskills, Daniel Palladino. Okay. Ronnie Lily, again, I thought that was a great episode. Well directed. Could see you going to that. Fleabag, people love that show. Could see you going to that. The Big Bang Theory one, though, makes me go like, maybe, because the Big Bang Theory was basically shut out of all award seasons. It's shut out this season, I should say. Especially when a lot of those actors were kind of in contention a lot of the time. I think the shine has kind of gone off that show, but this was his last season. Maybe this will be the award they give it as kind of like a well done. But I'd like to see Ron and Lily win it, having not seen any of the others. But there you go. Writing for a drama series: Better Call Saul, winner. Bodyguard, episode 1. Peter Gould and Thomas Schnauz wrote winner. Jed Mercurio, episode 1 of The Bodyguard. Game of Thrones, The Iron Throne, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. We come back to that one. Nice and Neat, Emerald Fennel, Succession, Nobody's Ever Missing, Jesse Armstrong, The Handmaid's Tale, Holly by Bruce Miller and Keira Snyder. Right. The only one I can talk about, because I've actually seen, is The Iron Throne, the last episode of Game of Thrones. That does not deserve writing for a drama series at all, right? Oh, God. I don't know. At the same time, Game of Thrones, they want to be like, hey, yeah, you ended it, and this is the ending, and you made the ending, and yeah, here's your award. Good job on making Game of Thrones, but I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't a great ending, was it? It wasn't even well written, particularly. But anyway, directing for a drama series, 3 episodes of Game of Thrones nominated here out of 6. No, 5. No, 6. Sorry. Okay, so Last of the Starks. That means half of the season of Game of Thrones was nominated for directing. Oh my God. All right. The Last of the Starks, that was a very good episode, as far as I remember. The Long Night. The Last of the Starks directed by David Nutter. Long Night directed by Miguel Sapochnik. David Benioff and D.B. Weiss directed The Iron Throne. They're nominated for that. Desperate Times of Killing Eve directed by Lisa Brulman. Ozark Reparations directed by Jason Bateman. And Succession. Oh, sorry, there's more nominations than I realized. Succession Celebration directed by Adam McKay. And The Handmaid's Tale Holly directed by Dana Reed. Okay. Don't give it to The Long Night. There was some good direction in that, but the lighting and some of the creative choices were baffling. As much as we give hate to the last episode, the direction of the last season, or the last episode of the season, wasn't the worst. So maybe that one, to be honest. Maybe don't give it for writing and give it for directing. I don't know. Regardless, again, statistically, it's probably more likely to be Game of Thrones there, right? Reality competition series. Okay, here's the one people don't really care about. The Amazing Race, American Ninja Warrior, RuPaul's Drag Race, Top Chef, and The Voice. Sure, give it to RuPaul's Drag Race. Why not? Who cares? Variety Talk Show, Last Week Tonight, HBO, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert and CBS. Jimmy Kimmel Live, ABC, The Late Show with James Corden, The Daily Show with Trevor Noah from Comedy Central, and Full Frontal with Samantha Bee. Last Week Tonight is the only one I watched there properly. Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, I've heard is very good. Don't give it to James Corden. Don't give it to Jimmy Kimmel. They're fine. Same with Stephen Colbert. They're fine. Don't bother giving it to them. Day Show with Trevor Noah. It's okay. I've seen a few episodes of it. It's fine. Last Week Tonight, I'd say, or Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, maybe. Variety sketch shows: At Home with Amy Sedaris, Documentary Now, Drunk History, I Love You America with Sarah Silverman, Saturday Night Live, and Who is America? My head says Who is America, even as much as I thought that was a bit. I don't think it was as great as everyone said it was, but it was more like I can't believe what I'm watching. I Love You America with Sarah Silverman is finished. Documentary Now is very dry, so I don't think people will necessarily like. It's not for everyone. Drunk History, I don't think will get it at all. At Home with Amy Sedaris, I've heard it's good, but I think it's probably Who is America or Saturday Night Live, to be honest. And the last category we look at is the animated portion, the animated program. Big Mouth on Netflix, Bob's Burgers on Fox, BoJack Horseman on Netflix, Come Along With Me, Adventure Time, which is I believe it's like the last episode or something. It's something like that. It's like or did it set up another one? It's the end of Adventure Time, basically. And The Simpsons on Fox, right? I can't believe The Simpsons is still nominated. I think that's just a case of The Simpsons. That's always a good pick, isn't it? Big Mouth, I've never watched it. It's very crass from all I hear about it. Bob's Burgers, I'm behind on Bob's Burgers, but I do love it. BoJack Horseman, everyone loves that show, even me, even though I'm well behind on it. Adventure Time, I'd love to see that win, because I do love Adventure Time as well. And it'd be nice to get if got one at the ending, but I have heard it's not as good in this later season, so who knows? That one's pretty wide open, and I don't think people care all that much about it, unfortunately. Anyway, those are the Emmy nominations, so that's the second time I've gone through the Emmy nominations now. I'm not doing it again. I'm glad this is still recording. So yeah, a lot of Game of Thrones nominations. Probably ill-deserved, if we're honest, but it's going out and finishing its run, so it's probably going to get a lot of awards, deserving or not deserving. Which of course brings us to our quick hits.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane.
Quick hits.
Production has begun on a new film starring the Invisible Man. But how would you ever know? Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston have been teasing a project together. That's right, the boys are getting back together once again. Heisenberg and Jesse Pinkman back together to make mess. Go. No. That's not what I thought I was going to finish that sentence with. Scarlett Johansson has come under fire for her comments about casting. She dropped out of a film in which she was set to have played a transgender character last year. She stated, as an actor, I should be allowed to play any person, or any tree, or any animal, because that is my job, and the requirement's my job. There are a lot of social lines being drawn now, and a lot of political correctness is being reflected in art. Well, after these comments, Disney announced that Scarlett will join the Pocahontas live-action remake to play both the lead and also every rock and tree and creature.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Trailer trash. I think it looks kind of good though.
Getting straight into the trailer trash because we have a lot of trailers to cover. Last 2 episodes Tompott did were E3. So, of course, we didn't cover the news those weeks. Or he didn't cover the news, I guess. So we have a bit to catch up on as far as the trailers go. Starting first with a trailer for a new Disney live-action remake, Mulan, which I'm sure is going to be amazing because everything Disney does is amazing. Okay? Anyway, getting onto the trailer, I actually like this trailer a lot. It was very popular online. Apparently it's doing huge numbers in China, which makes sense. It's a more... I don't want to say it's more faithful to the original story because I'm not entirely sure what the original story is or... But it's moved away a bit from the animated version. We have no songs, apparently, in this version. There's no Mushu, the Eddie Murphy dragon, but there's a rumor going around that Psychic is going to be like a phoenix, but I don't know, is that true or not? But this instead seems like a martial arts kind of military movie with an all-Asian cast, so I don't know why that would be. I don't hear any negative thing about that, and hey, Disney have never steered us wrong. All hail Disney. On to our next trailer. Dora the Explorer, or Dora and the Lost City of Gold, I guess to give it its proper title. This is the second trailer we've had for this. The first trailer I thought was pretty good. Look, pretty good is relative, right? I don't really care about Dora the Explorer. I don't think I ever even saw a proper episode of Dora the Explorer. But it looks like a lot of fun. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek at the start of it. It shows off kind of like the Dora that people know. It's like now that she's all grown up and she's moved on from that, It's pretty entertaining. It looks like a lot of fun. And the director of this, James Bowman, directed some of the Muppet movies recently that I really enjoyed. So I think he has to bring a sense of fun to that kind of thing. And having it be a bit self-aware makes it a lot of fun. I want to take away some points, though, from it in that they didn't let us hear Danny Trejo as the monkey, as Boots. Or I think it's Antonio Banderas is voicing Swiper. We see them in the trailer, but we don't hear them. I really want to hear Danny Trejo them as a monkey, man. That'd be amazing. But this looks like a lot of fun. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to go rush out to see this. But if it's on Netflix, I might throw it on. Looks kind of fun. Be interested to see how it fares. Then we had a new trailer for 3 from Hell. Ye talked, Tompott and his audience, not me. I just sat in the corner and edited afterwards. 3 from Hell, the new Rob Zombie movie. There was a trailer for this already. A lot of people acted like this was a new, or the first trailer. Maybe the last one was just kind of teasing it, but regardless, this was our best look at the film yet. It has a real griminess to it, as you would expect from a Rob Zombie movie that I really enjoy. I like Devil's Rejects quite a bit. More than any of his other movies that I've seen. This is a little bit over the top compared to his other movies, a bit much maybe. It does look good. It looks a little bit silly. We saw like a lot of lucha libre wrestlers in the trailer for some reason, which I didn't entirely understand. Could be good. I'm hoping it's closer to Devil's Rejects than House of a Thousand Corpses because I didn't particularly love House of a Thousand Corpses, but yeah, Rob Zombie is good, but when he's left to his own devices, sometimes he can be a bit much. So I'm hoping he pulls the reins back a little bit, and this can be a good movie because there's a lot of good performances from those 3 actors as well in The Devil's Rejects. So I'm hoping he can get good performances out of his actors, if nothing else. We had a trailer for The King's Man this week as well. This is, of course, the prequel to Kingsman, set during World War One. This is a shocking trailer. I don't mean shocking isn't bad. I mean, I'm just surprised by it because it's not anything like the tone of the other Kingsman movies, judging off the trailer. It seems very dark and serious. And there was a rumor that was the case anyway. That was kind of a period drama more than a kind of comedic spy movie. But it's weird because I didn't like the second Kingsman movie like a lot of people. And of course you want to see it go in a new direction to freshen it up, make things a bit better from where they were. But at the same time, this is so radically different it's hard to call. World War One is an interesting setting. There was a few kind of vibes of Wonder Woman off it though, some scenes and some shots. Which makes me kind of wonder if it's going to be a rip-off of Wonder Woman to a certain degree. But it looks interesting. It has a great cast. Ray Fiennes, I think Digimon Hinsu, I saw him as well. There was reports Liam Neeson was in it. He's not in it as far as I know. That rumor was not proved true. Gemma Arterton, I think I saw in it. And we saw Rhys Ifans, I think it was, as Rasputin, which has got Rasputin in it. It's got my attention, you know. That's pretty cool. We will see how it pans out. I liked the trailer. I like that it's something different compared to the last one, because if there was any complaints about Kingsman 2, it was that it was more of the same, so this is at least something different. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure how to feel about it because it is so radically different. But I'm interested, if not entirely invested in seeing how this movie pans out. One trailer we also got this week, it actually dropped today, or last night, was for Hustlers. This is a comedy. This is a very strange movie. So this is Hustlers, okay? And it's based on an article that was written. And I'm just going to read out the full headline of the article here. The Hustlers at Scores. This is written by Jessica Presler for thecut.com. Here's a modern Robin Hood story for you. A few strippers who stole from mostly rich, usually disgusting, in their minds, these are in brackets, pathetic men, and gave to well themselves. Okay. Now, so in other words, they're strippers who drugged men or got them too drunk and then robbed them. Does that sound? If that sounds familiar, if you follow pop culture at all, Cardi B did that to people, and guess who's in this movie? Yikes! Now I like Cardi B as a musician, as a performer. I like her music. Bit of a strange choice to cast her. They went real method with it, but okay, it's kind of a bit odd to celebrate that and give her a role doing that. But anyway, judging off the wording of the article, I haven't read it yet. It does sound very kind of like, yeah, you go. That wouldn't work if it was swapped around though, would it? Which is a shame. Because you can't really be like, oh, you go, girl. And they're like, wait a minute, you're just drugging people and robbing them. That's not cool. So I don't know. It's hard to grasp the tone of this off the trailer. It kind of looks like Wolf of Wall Street, like. But then again, Wolf of Wall Street also, I think, in my opinion, celebrated excess about someone who really didn't deserve any celebration. I mean, basically, by the end, it was like, oh, Jordan Belfort, I'm still awesome. So I don't know. I'm interested in this. It's got Jennifer Lawrence, Jennifer Lopez, Constance Wu, Cardi B, as I mentioned. I think Rebel Wilson is in it. It's got a decent cast. Could work as a comedy. Produced by Gary Sanchez Productions, Adam McKay and Will Ferrell's company. And it's coming out in September. Quite soon as well. I'm interested. It looks kind of fun. I'm concerned about the message it might have. But regardless of that, it doesn't really matter. Last thing I want to talk about literally came out as I was recording. I was going to mention it. The proper trailer for Cats is out on Friday. But, I'll talk about it next week because I'm assuming Tompott is going to be gone a while. They put out, I think this footage was also shown at CinemaCon, but it was never released online. It's very odd, basically, all these actors just being like, I've always wanted to be in Cats. Cats is amazing. And we see, I look at the sets, which are massively, they're like, the gist of this movie is that the actors are going to be regular sized people with digital fur, and then the sets are going to be massive, which is crazy, but it's really weird. It's just like, oh, this is all I ever wanted. I've only ever wanted to dance, and then it just clips people dancing for like 3 minutes. I was like, okay, thanks for that. You could have just put out the trailer. Anyway, trailer for it is out on Friday. I have no love or affection or interest in Cats really, but I want to see how weird this is going to be, to be honest. Anyway, that is our trailer trash. And that, to a certain degree, I guess, is our episode. Because I don't want to do a feature, or I definitely don't want to do a feature written by Tompott. I'll write it myself. This is, of course, the explosion or the incident was a shock to us all. I didn't have enough time to prepare a feature. Still trying to cope with the loss and sadness of that event. I don't think he may never come back, but I want whoever's listening to know that I'm happy to carry that baton, and that I think that overall the podcast can be better and more successful with me as the lead. And if you want to call me Tompott too, that's fine. But this podcast isn't going anywhere. Neither are the YouTube videos. Even if the leader dies, I'll be here. Okay. This weekend is Comic-Con. The next podcast, I will cover Comic-Con. Okay. And I'll give any updates on the health and condition of Tompott, the leader. Until then, you can contact. Let me know what you thought of the show. Whoever might be listening. Because I'd love to hear what you think. I think I did quite well. Other than that, please like the podcast. Please keep listening. And check out the YouTube channel for more. Because I cannot spell cult without you. Hello, it's Vision full with